Welcome to Village in Motion this Thursday, September 27th. I'm Clint Lambert. It's my pleasure to have in the studio this morning the Dining Services Leadership. And we have Ron Patterson, who is the Dining Services Committee Liaison, and we have Susan Gerhard, who is the Chair of Dining Services Committee. And we're very glad to have both of you with us.
Thank you very much.
Ron, you are the liaison to the Dining Services Committee, right?
Correct.
What does that mean you do? What's the role for the liaison?
To serve as the bridge between council and the committee, and obviously this is one of the larger committees, and quite candidly, it also is the one that everybody here deals with in one way or another every day. You may not necessarily deal with some of the other committees and some of the other facets on a daily basis, but I think you all do eat daily every day.
That is one of the requirements we have.
Yeah, and so it's a very active committee, constantly changing, constantly trying to deal with all the different facets of eating and what that has to do with folks who live here. So to serve as the bridge between what the committee is doing and what the council is receiving in information from residents as well is kind of where I am.
Okay. And then you and Susan meet together in regards to the committee?
We talk from time to time and have phone calls and so forth. Most of the work is done in the committees and subcommittees. The committee is large enough and has a responsibility that there are actually 4 subcommittees that are very active. We'd like to have 5. We don't have a subcommittee in Garden Ridge, although we do get information from Garden Ridge through comment cards.
So you have subcommittees for?
Cafe, Fireside, Woodland Skies, and Jefferson.
All right. And how many people are on each of those subcommittees?
5 to 6.
Oh, okay. All right. And what do those committees actually do?
They deal specifically with what's going on in those subcommittee area, in those dining areas. They meet monthly with the staff of those dining rooms, and because they're different. It's intended to be that way. One of the interesting things around here is that the dining, what's offered, is different. And so there are 4 very different, as you know, methods of eating and kind of atmosphere and so forth. Okay. And so they meet with the staff, with the cook, and with the directors and so forth of those dining areas. And through the comment cards.
But before they meet with them,
before
they meet, excuse me, before they meet with them, they have read every single comment card that has been turned in for that particular venue.
Okay. And monthly, we're getting how many comment cards?
It depends on the venue. It's a total of, I think you keep a better count of those, about 800.
Yeah.
Wow.
700 is a low number.
Okay. Because I can remember when we were fortunate to get 200, 150, 200, and so it's really nice.
No, it's for some of our dining rooms, it's 200 for that dining room alone.
That's tremendous.
And for a while, for a couple of years, those comments were being input into the computer by management in the dining rooms. And just within the last month, the dining services management said, you know, this is really taking up way too much time of our dining services staff. We're no longer going to be able to do that. So now after reviewing the cards in the dining rooms, which of course they do, they're handing the cards over to us, the actual physical cards for us to read.
So you're seeing the originals now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that's a new me. That's a first.
It's a new thing, and you know we're just handling it. We have a lot more time than the people working in the dining rooms, and that frees them up to really focus on their daily job.
The committee's reverting back to the way it was 6 years ago when I was chair of the Dining Services Committee.
So when they were all printed out, I reported this at the meeting on Monday. Last year, those printed out on sheets of paper given to us amount to 170 sheets of paper.
Wow.
By the time they went to all the dining services
Right.
To
committee
everybody on
members.
all the
Wow.
committees and the staff and so forth. A lot of paper, a lot of
A
time.
lot of wasted paper.
Yeah. And wasted time.
Wasted
because
time.
that,
Exactly.
I wouldn't say wasted.
Yeah.
I would say it was a lot of use of paper, a lot of time spent going over them and reviewing them and
Right.
discussing them and really bringing up the issues to the dining services management.
But with having them in hand, the originals in hand for the subcommittees, then you can discuss them.
We discuss them exactly
The
the same
same,
way. We
right.
go through them. We set aside those that really don't require discussion, and then we pull out those that really are important to discuss with management.
And Susan, you are the chair of that committee, right?
Yes, and I also chair 2 of the subcommittees.
Oh, okay.
And you ask why?
Yes.
Because we couldn't find anybody else on the subcommittee that was willing to do it.
Oh.
Like a lot of things in life, a lot of people are willing to say, yes, I'd like to be on the committee, but when we say, would you like to chair it?
Right.
Oh, no, I don't want to do that.
Nobody wants to step up.
Right.
Oh,
So
what a
just to
shame.
keep things moving,
Okay.
I agreed to chair it.
All right. The people that are on the subcommittees, though, in the various venues, are they members of, no, well, I shouldn't say it. Do they predominantly eat within that community?
Yes, I would say predominantly. That doesn't mean that they don't go to other venues once in a
Right.
while. And on one subcommittee last year, we had a gentleman who ended up on that subcommittee and yet never ate in that dining room, or seldom, and it was wonderful because he was like our mole. He would go there to eat, and he would notice things that the rest of us never noticed,
Right.
which was wonderful because we were so accustomed to eating there. And he would go there to eat once in a while and say, well, did you notice this? And we were so accustomed to it that we hadn't seen it. So it really was good.
No, okay.
2 other sources of information from the residents are the town hall meetings that the dining rooms have. Tend to be 1 a month, which means that kind of quarterly. It switches each month, each quarter. And the other, which is kind of an overall, is the focus meetings.
Oh.
These were instituted about 2 or 3 months ago
Right.
by and this is about everything in dining.
Okay.
There's one coming up next Wednesday, and for those of you who attend, it's a different location. This will be in Hunter's Crossing. These have been in the theater previously, and they deal with everything. Tyson is there, and Jason is there, and Michael's there, and they give overall comments about the total dining experience. Not so much in an individual dining room. The town hall deal. You can ask questions like that. And obviously, they do give you a chance to ask questions. Mainly it's questions. So if you haven't attended those and have a question or just want to find out the information,
They're really very educational
Yeah.
because it gives our staff an opportunity to have a little more time to maybe hone in on a specific
Right.
subject and give us a little more education on that subject.
So it's not really a focus group as such. It is really an information sharing,
Correct.
information gathering
Yes.
group. How many people typically attend those?
About 40 to 50.
Oh, okay. It'd be nice if a lot more attended.
That's true.
Yeah.
Everyone is welcome.
Okay. Is there usually a fair representation of all the communities within those focus groups?
I would say so.
Okay. Susan, you mentioned that you're the chair of 2 of the subcommittees.
Mm-hmm.
Do you eat in each one of the dining rooms?
Actually, one of those dining rooms I do not eat in, and one of them I do eat in.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
kind of an interesting comparison because for the one I don't eat in, I'm kind of like that mole that goes, oh, well, this is interesting. I'm learning so, and I'm able to ask questions about that dining room that are completely foreign to me. So it's a very interesting experience to be able to go into that group and say, well, wait, you're saying this, but this doesn't look right in this dining room. So that's been a very interesting experience.
Okay.
It's more, I become more a facilitator in that group than I do really as a part of the group.
All right. The information that's gleaned from that group by Dining Services Administration, what do they do with it?
It's not as much gleaned from the group, it's what we're doing in those meetings, and it depends on the dining room for the fireside and the cafe. When we sit down with management, they bring the manager, the supervisors of the dining room, the head cook, the executive chef, the head cooks, the sous chef, they have a whole team that comes to the meeting.
Okay.
In Woodland Skies, it's only the supervisor, the manager of the dining room,
Okay.
excuse me, who comes to our meetings. So it kind of depends on who you're meeting with.
Okay. With it, Ron, everybody's encouraged to provide input, ask questions.
Oh, yes.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. But what we usually do is take what we have from the cards and say, okay, what's really important to discuss here? For as an example, for many months, we have been bringing up among the various topics in the cafes the fact that we really are worried about the cleanliness of the tables and the edges of the tables. And this
Okay.
has been going on since flu season.
Right.
Because people get up from the tables
And they grab
with their dirty hands.
Right.
And we still are working on this challenge of getting those tables clean, and we're not there yet. But it's discussing things like that.
Okay.
But we're also discussing things that are wonderful too.
Right.
Things that have changed that really are for the better.
Speaking of the fact of the tables being clean or not being clean, some of the dining rooms have the mats, individual dining mats for your place settings. Some do not. What's the reason for that?
I don't think there is a particular reason. I can tell you that in the cafe, when Ty first came to work here, about the second day he came here, he went into the cafe and he took one look at the placemats that were being used there then.
Right.
And it was a type of placemat that just congealed with food stuck in it. And he
Yes,
looked at them
yes.
and he saw the food that was stuck in them and realized how dirty and what a germ holder it was and said, we are getting rid of these right now.
Okay.
So, that speaks to our management and the fact that we've got a problem here, let's deal with
correct
it
it now.
today.
Very good.
So, and they haven't been replaced.
Right. Okay.
And it's kind of an individual thing. If you look at a dining table, is it cleaner with no placemat? Yes.
Is it?
Of course it is. It's much cleaner with no placemat. If you have a placemat that is going to be there for one person and still there for the next person, what happens?
Yeah,
It's
not
gathering dirt.
contaminated.
And it's an individual thing. Some
Right.
people like tablecloths. Tablecloths are very expensive. I think as the cafe is repositioned, will something different happen? It's kind of like the green beans. Some people like their green beans well cooked. Some people like their green beans a little more raw.
Right.
Placemats fall into
Same
the
thing.
same
Same
heading.
thing.
You could ask 10 people and you could have 10 different opinions.
Exactly.
The
Yeah, Ron.
new method of the comment cards being put on a spreadsheet daily
Okay.
speeds up changes necessary.
All right.
Because now it used to be you really didn't know maybe there was a problem. Let's say
So the information didn't get
until
out.
you got to the end of the month and got all these sheets. Oh, that's showing up a bunch of times. Now it's put in daily, and there's a circle graph that can be created.
Right.
And let's
That's speaking of this information.
Right.
right, and that if, for example, a restaurant has been rated very high number-wise with regard to cleanliness, and then all of a sudden you have 3 days in a row when the cards coming in are saying there's a problem. You deal with that problem if it's the first week of the month, second week, whatever.
Right.
You don't have to wait to the end. And so this is going to be a faster way of making corrections.
And
Wonderful.
it's not that they weren't looking at what was on the cards before,
Right.
but this information, and we're talking about the side of the card where you have a choice of checking 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
They are putting that in quickly, and but also they're looking at the actual written comments
right,
daily. Also, it's not as if those aren't looked at, and if they find, 5 people that say, hey, the meat was bad or something, they're going to be looking at that also.
Speaking of the comments.
Yes.
And if as you turned it over, you have that section for,
Yes.
for comments. What happens if somebody wants to write more comments than the space allows?
I have been known to go home and type something up and bring it back on a piece of paper and put it in the box.
Okay, so people could go and
Sure.
write something up separately,
We
bring
encourage
it back. Okay.
But while we're on the subject of comments, well, number one, we encourage people to put in comments. We
Right.
say, yes, we receive 800 a month. We would be happy to see 1,500 a month.
Right.
because we don't think people are putting in comments often enough. We would also encourage people that if there's something really, really wrong, talk to a manager right now.
Exactly.
And I was looking through some prior comments and came up with one. This happened in Woodland Skies actually last month. We had 4 or 5 people put in comments over 3 or 4 days' time that said, well, you have to drill holes in the salt and pepper shakers because the salt and pepper won't come out. Well, obviously, the problem was that the wrong size salt had been mistakenly put into and pepper had been put into the
And
shakers.
it blocked the holes.
Right. Now, what would have been the right thing to do? Call for a manager and say, hey, we have a problem, instead of having it put on a card
Right.
and not looked at for a day or
and
two.
nobody paying any attention
And
to it.
nobody pay any attention. When you have something that is that wrong,
Yes. Speak up.
speak up. If you have food that is not edible,
Speak
up.
Because, but I think with our generation and the generation before us, especially as far as age-wise, individuals were always taught to clean their plates, and if it was put in front of you, you were supposed to eat, and so we're hesitant. Too many of us are hesitant to speak up, when we need to speak up. Unfortunately, but if we don't speak up, nothing changes.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's a habit that needs to change.
Exactly.
But speak up about good things also.
Yes, exactly. Very, very important. It's very important to give positive feedback. And there's so many positive things that dining services has done for all of us.
And most of the cards are positive.
Yes.
Most of the cards are positive.
Wonderful.
But I agree with Susan completely. We need more cards. If you stop me in the hallway or whatever, and you give me a comment, I'll tell you my answer already. I'm going to say, did you put in a comment card? 90% of the time they'll say no.
Right.
I say, well, I'm sorry. Then it probably will not get attention.
Although sometimes I have had people say, well, no, I'm not going to do it. And if I'm in the dining room, I will sit down with them and write out the card with them. Somebody who won't do it or maybe physically can't do it.
Right, right. But it's important to get those comments to someone
Yes.
that will listen, that can get something accomplished.
That's right.
One group that probably needs to consider comment cards more, folks doing carry-out. We're trying to figure out how to deal with that. So those folks who are going to do a carry-out might pick up a few of the cards, take them home and have them ready. Because you may not know till you get that bag back to your place what was correct or not. And it doesn't make sense to drop a card in each bag or anything. That would be a waste.
Right. Yeah.
But carry out, folks. If you're not doing comments, we want yours too.
Yeah.
The one thing that I would say is when you write a comment that makes some sense.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I'll give you an example. A comment that management can work with, and here's an example of one that didn't work so well. I love the Madeira short ribs, but today's was inedible, pure fat and covered with a sauce which had never been on ribs before. Okay, so number one, we don't know if this was eat-in or carry-out.
Right.
And it said that it was pure fat. So in other words, there was no meat on the ribs at all. And
Which is highly unlikely.
highly unlikely. And the sauce, which had never been on ribs before. So do you think we would reuse the sauce?
What they're talking about by that, I happen to know what they're talking about with that, is that we've had ribs many different times. The different kinds of sauces that have been used, and what they're saying is that Madeira sauce has never been used on the ribs that they've had.
So that's an example of, give us information that's usable. Here's another one. Chicken piccata was loaded with salt, not edible. Well, in the first place, it's well known in our community, we've said it 1,000 times, that none of our recipes add salt.
Right.
So, tell us something that it really is helpful. Did it taste too salty? And perhaps that was the question. And
the other thing in regards to that is taste. And our taste changes as we age.
yes.
Our taste buds change from medication.
And from your medical background, you can tell us that.
I mean, it really affects you. And we often forget that in regards to how our taste has changed and the effect our medications had on us.
We have a lot of comments that really don't help us at all.
Right.
There was a lady who came to me in the dining room one night and said, well, the turkey that I had yesterday was just horrible. And this was after I had just finished writing a comment card that said this was the best turkey I've ever had in my entire life, bar none.
Well,
And
that's just kind of like the beans.
so I asked her, I said, well, what was wrong with your turkey? This took like 3 or 4 minutes to get out. I said, what was wrong with your turkey? And she went on, and how it was not like the turkey should be, et cetera, et cetera. And what I found out was the only thing that was wrong with the turkey was sliced too thick for what she liked. That was all that was wrong with the turkey. But she couldn't say that.
Right.
She had gone on and on about it was the worst turkey in the history of the world, and this and that and this and that. And what she really was trying to say is that she would have preferred that the turkey be sliced more thin.
Yeah.
So when you write a comment, make it specific. Give us helpful information so that the dining staff will know what they can do to improve. I have never seen a group of people more interested in trying to keep us happy with our dining experience than this group of folks.
I totally agree with you.
They are listening, they are trying, they are out on the floor every day saying, how was your food?
Right.
Did you like it? What can we do to make it better in every one of our dining rooms?
And I especially like it when the chef or the sous chef walk around and do table touches and really talk with people about what's going on, as well as the managers and the supervisors walking around doing the table touches and seeing who's there and asking for comments about what's going on.
Right.
So, they are active. They are motivated.
Yes.
And they want us to be happy as possible.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we can help them by being positive.
Yes.
Yes.
Makes a big difference.
Right. You asked about what else our committee does and some of the other things we discuss. Also that comes under at our meetings, at our big meetings, which is about 25 people, we have a nutrition lesson every time. We have as a part of our team, we have dietitians here.
Right.
And one of the 2 dietitians, Mary Smith, who is a very fine educator, every month she gives us a little 3 or 4 minute nutrition lesson. And we have discussed, we've discussed bread, the relationship of the color of bread to the amount of nutrition in it. We've discussed sugar substitutes, and she did a whole show here on Channel 6 on that. We've discussed the nutritional value of lollipops. That was a biggie.
There you go.
We discussed dark chocolate. We discussed the importance of staying hydrated. And last month we talked about the new nutrition labels. So that's a part of our meetings. Right. We've also discussed, one of our issues came up about the stores and what happens in our stores. That also comes under dining services. We have talked about, and part of our challenge in working with our group has been talking with our people about, if you're going to be on the Dining Services Committee, it's not all about you.
Right.
Being on the Dining Services Committee. And for those of you who are thinking about maybe wanting to be on a committee next year, think about that. Right. If you want to be on the Dining Services Committee for better green beans, that's not a reason to be on the committee. But being a committee member is about better dining services for everyone.
And that applies to all the committees, is the
That's
fact
true.
of, people need to join the committees. It's extremely important that there are residents who are participants on the various committees, and they make a major difference, those committees do. But not to have it all about ourselves.
That's right.
It's got to be about the community in general, and to go into the committees with an open mind and a willingness to serve and to ask questions and to seek information and to transmit that information to the appropriate people.
And that's among our goals for our committee. Transmitting that information and the communication piece has been a real biggie. One of the things we've talked about is, and we have used the term pilfering, but it's thievery has been a huge problem in dining services.
Over the years.
Over the years, yes, it doesn't go away. We've talked about furnishings here and there. We've talked about cleanliness, which I mentioned, and of course we've talked about safety a lot. So it's a lot of topics that come up in our discussions, and as Ron said, most of our work is done in the subcommittees.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, and just knowing dining services from my own experience, the subcommittees really are essential, and they really bring a wealth of information to the committee.
Has the work changed a lot from when you were the chair of the Dining Services Committee? I'm curious.
I don't think so. And actually, the fact of you reading the comment cards, that's what we did back in the good old days.
Right.
But the fact of transmitting information both to residents and to staff in regards to it really was an essential part of the subcommittees.
Well, the staff that we have now is so terrific. I don't know if you're familiar with a youth program sponsored by the Department of Agriculture called the 4-H program.
Oh, yes. I was a 4-H.
Okay, there you go. Well, do you remember one of the mottos within 4-H is to make the best better?
Yes.
And I sometimes think with our dining services program here, that can be one of our mottos,
Sure.
because we really do have the best, and I think now we're just working to make the best better.
Yeah. Ron, you're sitting there kind of quiet there for a second. You thinking about food?
Yeah, I'm also thinking about how the staff really goes out of its way to try to give variety, not only in food, but also the way they present it. I was interested this morning to see on, I keep calling it Channel 6, I know that's
GSV-TV.
Yeah, whatever you got. And there's an announcement on there about another version of Movie on the Green. Now, that's sort of Green Springs' answer to drive-in movies.
Right.
This is probably about the 4th or 5th time they've had one of these, and if you're not familiar, they set up in the parking lot, up at the 100 Crossing parking lot. It's an outdoor movie, and food is served. You'll have your regular meal along with popcorn and other stuff like you'd have at a
Every
movie.
junk food you'd ever want.
Every junk food.
And if the weather's bad, at least one case,
They had to
move
go
it inside 100
Right.
Crossing, and it's an interesting evening to attend. It's a little bit different. Again, a different way. They don't have to. That's a lot of trouble to go to do something like that. But trouble doesn't bother them. They're willing to go ahead and do that. Movie, by the way, is called A Quiet Place. I looked up the computer.
It's a little scary.
Yeah, it's a good movie to show the same month that Halloween. I won't say more about that. But anyhow, check it out. And the evening of October 16th, 6 o'clock,
Okay.
movie at 7. It'll be dark by then. And be moved inside if the weather's bad. But that kind of stuff, I mean, they could just go ahead and serve meals on the 16th like any other night. But they're going to all the trouble of doing something special for
Yes,
us.
yes.
Support them, please.
Yes.
And this was their idea,
Yes.
which is a terrific one.
Which is absolutely wonderful. We have 1 minute left. Any closing remarks?
No, we've just had a wonderful time this year working with these 25 very dedicated people.
Great.
It's not as if that we have meetings that nobody shows up. We have a packed room every time.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you would encourage people to join the committee for next year,
it's
right?
going to be time to sign up. We encourage people to try the dining services committee. If you haven't been on a committee before, this is a good committee to try. You can do a lot of good and you can learn a lot.
To me, it's one of the best committees around because you're exposed to everybody and everything, and something that's daily you have to have.
And meet a lot of wonderful people.
You certainly do. Well, 2 wonderful people have been here with us today, sharing some wonderful information about dining services, and we appreciate having both of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.